I would like to focus on a few things partially covered by my colleagues. First, well, I truly like the term of world majority, but I think it's important to precise why and how we differ it from global south, because normally global south is much more popular. So here I would start with the bit seditious thought that particularly to Russian foreign policy and to global south countries too, in fact. The term global south now in 2024 is harmful. Um, First of all, for Russia, this concept is harmful primarily because Russia, in this case, acts as a foreign body, some other external partner that is different from the West, of course, but basically has to bargain with Global South on more or less same conditions. And Global South, in this case, represents some kind of bride that can choose which fiance is nicer, bargaining with all of them. At the same time, Russia obviously cannot be an integral part of the South, neither at the level of some basic meanings, because basically we're a northern power with the largest Arctic frontier of the world, but also, of course, from the point of view of political, military, technological, or social development. And it's not about particularly just the Russian case. If we speak about China, for example, China also is no longer the first among equals. And the format of cooperation with Group 77 plus one, plus China, is a clear confirmation of this. In addition, we see some growing difficulties and tensions between China and India positions itself as flagship of the Global South, the ambassador of Global South, so it also doesn't contribute to some conversions. But it's some kind of political rhetoric exercises. From a factual point of view, the term no longer reflects reality. If in 1969, when it was appeared, the Global South, all major balances were completely different: demographic, economic, research, capacity balance, the balance of potentials. It was very clear why there is the West and Global South is the part of the world that clearly cannot challenge the West in vice versa contradiction. So now we see a different situation. First, in terms of transfer of development technologies, not only G7 or OECD countries. Nuclear weapons are not only in the West. Economic power, well, if we forget all the political rhetorics and disinformation and take a look on the statistics in top 5 economies of the world, according to PPP, of course. USA and Japan represent the West, but 3 of them, like China, India, and Russia, clearly are from another league. And also, if we think about the future, if countries of the global West, of the global South focus on this concept, it's also harmful because basically it predetermines reliance on external partner. Because nowadays the South doesn't have enough resources and technologies to reach a completely self-sufficient development trajectory without some external impulse. And the nature of this impulse is the question, like more or less favorable terms, more capitalist or less capitalist in the model of the 20th century, new colonization, or some creative partnership that China tries to promote. It's not so important. Still, these countries must rely on the other, on the important other. And the main thing here is lack of independence. So we can speak about some complete subjectivity in this case. The idea that now global south kind of buyer's market for aid and development also doesn't work. We have an example of climate fund that was promised to be collected $100 billion since 2010 formally. Well, it's still zero in this fund. Well, not zero, I'm sorry, a couple of $1 billion that were assigned but didn't spend yet. So when there is no clear strategy for profit gaining for Western countries, they don't really go in some aid and development strategies to global south. So I see that both for Russia, for global south countries, some new integral format that global majority or world majority represent really fits to their genuine and long-term interests. But here is a pretty logic question: on which basis, on which structures this integral format can be based. I'm very grateful to Yelena, who already presented some SWOT analysis of major new formats like BRICS and SCO. I have just a couple of ideas to add here. First, when we speak about new institutions for global majority, for Russian foreign strategy, we non-intentionally copy the logic of institutions elaborated in since the second part of the 20th century. I don't believe that just copying of previous structures like World Bank for world majority, like New Development Bank of BRICS, basically, can work in the same way. It won't, because what is bad for their major investors, the Western countries, that format used to work very well, were very efficient. They managed to recruit perfectly educated experts and staff. And the idea that we make all the same, but just in other cities, not in New York, but in Shanghai, it's not enough. I think that these new institutions, if they truly can represent the new spirit of international partnership, more sovereign, more independent, they must be of different nature. First, I see it as more ad hoc or network-based formats. And here there are plenty of opportunities based on the very genuine demand for new, less controlled, less monopolized systems for international interactions, not necessarily cooperation, just interaction from networks. Communication networks, also insurance, finance, technology transfer networks, technology standard networks. It's all needed. It can be based within BRICS, of course, within SCO, but also it can be very ad hoc initiatives like triangles. For example, Russia, United Emirates, Ethiopia in terms of digital food security, or Russia, Iran, India in terms of new transport insurance and the insurance for logistics, if we really want to make new north-south corridor. So these ad hoc, more flexible institutions, they have bigger chance to succeed, to be successful. Also, because the whole logic of institutionalism of the 20th century, that countries deserve gradually, but deserve more and more to delegate, to transfer from less important to very important functions to supranational level, it completely fails and ruined nowadays. Countries don't want to transfer and delegate anything. They want to take their powers back or find someone who will pay for this transfer in the best case scenario. So, for example, in the green agenda strategy, what India, what other global South countries want, they give us money and we'll define on our own how to spend them. It doesn't work by very obvious reasons. But for institutions, it's also won't work. So I think the whole new institutionalism for global majority based on the idea of intense supranational component will fail. So it's the design of these structures must be completely different. And I see some impulses that Russian officials understand it. That's why, for example, our Ministry of Foreign I'm lost. Our foreign ministry, they are very careful. Our Ministry of Finance, they're very careful in establishing new international organizations within BRICS officially. We have bank, we have network cooperation in anti-monopoly law, some network universities that work more or less successfully, unfortunately more or less successfully, but still. There is understanding that just copying the previous formats won't work. Also, the last but not the least, we still have old institutions, and next year we'll celebrate 80 years of United Nations. And of course, the long-lasting debate on the reform of United Nations will take place. I'm very skeptical about some significant shifts in the design of Security Council. Lots of talks will be there, lots of bargains, but well, I don't believe that it can be profoundly shifted. No, if we don't speak about some symbolic democratization of UN, like now, Security Council must present to General Assembly what they did and why they did so. But there is one issue that can be of some impetus for this global majority cooperation. If United Nations still represent itself as some global savior or global emergency assistant, it must move physically move closer to global problems. By now, except Nairobi and lucky Kenyans, no UN agency, I don't speak about regional agencies, but program headquarters or agencies, all of them are placed in the Western countries. It has a very clear and profound message. If world majority, Russia and China also being UN security members, don't have any UN agency or program based on their territories, it means that if global majority countries have any problem, they must visit normal countries to address their problems. I honestly love most of the cities they choose, like Paris or Vienna or Turin or New York or Geneva. But it's ridiculous now when we see the concentration of international problems, of global problems in the countries with 5 to 6 to 7 billion people living there. So I think that this a bit populist idea from the start about physical restructuring of UN representation, it can really gradually shift the whole focus of the activity of this institution. But it's long-term and intense work. I would stop here and very grateful for the opportunity to talk. Thank you.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.